Hi, everyone. Today's episode is for the mothers, the caregivers, the women holding 100 things at once. Some of them are visible and some of them no one sees. And it's an episode concept I've carried in my heart for a little while before I think I was ready to speak out about all of the ways in which becoming a mom really has transformed the person that I am, the wife, the friend, and the professional that I am. The truth is, motherhood stripped me down. It stripped me bare in ways I did not expect and in ways I was not prepared for. It showed me how fragile I am, but also how fierce I can be all in the same breath, right? It made me braver, not because I had more time and energy or anything like that, but it had me choosing and understanding what really mattered to me in a way that nothing's given me perspective in that manner until that moment. I used to think boldness was also like being everywhere and doing everything, proving myself that I am able, capable, and equal in all the ways. But motherhood, especially in the moments of exhaustion where like I felt like my tank was completely empty and I had nothing left to offer, in those moments of exhaustion, between the NICU visits, my grief of losing my mom after becoming a mom myself, it taught me that boldness can be gentle. It can be whispers. It doesn't have to be this really loud thing that has to be seen, heard, or even felt at times. Boldness can ask for help, and boldness really and truly can mean choosing peace over performance and not having to apologize for that decision to choose peace over performance. So if you are in a season where you are questioning where you are right now and whether or not you are making the best decisions for yourself, for your family, I hope that this episode lands right where you need it to, in understanding that sometimes the permission that we are seeking externally lies with us the entire time. Welcome to the show, everybody. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Success in Doses. I am your host, Saley. I am so grateful that you are here and giving this episode a listen today. One of the things that I pride myself on above so many things is that I really and truly believe that living authentically and not having fear dictate the way I show up for myself and for others, that is an important thing. And today's conversation is an emotional one on so many different levels because preparing for this episode forced me to examine certain things that I have not really allowed myself to sit down and think about and take time to see through the emotions that are attached to the experiences that I have had this past year. In January of 2023, my husband and I became blessed with the arrival of our son. And that arrival was as traumatic as you can think of. After having a miraculously safe and healthy pregnancy, I didn't have any complications despite being labeled a high risk pregnancy. I went through my pregnancy in excellent health. I never missed a day of work. I never had morning sickness. I never had weird cravings. Smells didn't bother me. I was great. And after going to an appointment and getting an ultrasound and getting labs, my doctor, God bless her, was concerned and asked that I stay over for a 24-hour observation. And 18 hours later, I had to have an emergency C-section, and my son was born at 28 weeks and 5 days. As scary of a moment as that was to go through that after so many hopes that we would make it to 30 weeks, because as a transplant patient, we never really had the delusional ambition or dream that I would carry him to full term. We were prepared for an early arrival, but under 30 weeks, we were very worried about that and concerned about that. And so getting to 28 weeks was a blessing, and we were looking forward to week 29 and then week 30. But God had other plans for us and our family. My son was born at exactly 3 pounds. And for the first time in my life, I was looking at something that was of me, that I created, that I nurtured, at I loved before I even knew him. And looking at him in the NICU is still one of the most difficult and undescribable feelings that I still can't put into words because I've gone through scary moments with my own health, but I always draw strength from God's will always be done, right? And now I was desperate for God's will to be that I get to have my son and I get to know him and he gets to grow up healthy. I get to have dreams for him. We get to have dreams together. And in that moment, I realized like my wildest dream and simplest dream that I've ever had, an ambition that I've ever had, was to watch him grow up. NICU life is something that even though we'd been prepared for it, we weren't prepared for it. We were not. It is a different world. And the people who do this day after day, I have so much respect for them. These people leave their homes and come to the hospital to care for children that are fighting for their lives, children who come into the world fighting, right? To come into the world and have to fight to stay. It's something that gave me a lot of perspective about the things that I was seeing and viewing and labeling as important. And out of that desperation in that moment of becoming a NICU parent for 71 days, something else was born. A more assured version of myself started to emerge. And at first, I'm not going to lie, I was scared of it because I have always just functioned with a little bit of uncertainty about everything I do. But suddenly, I had these dreams that were clearer than anything had ever been for me. It was a dream of number one, I want to see him make it out of here. And number two, I will do anything I possibly can under the sun to make sure that the journey he has here is slightly less complicated, traumatic, difficult than the one I've undergone. And this gave birth to a different version of me. It gave birth to a version of myself that I think had always existed, but was maybe waiting to be ignited and waiting for permission to show up. And having my son, it gave me that. But also having my son did something else for my family because it'd been a dream for my mom to see me become a mother. As her fight against cancer kind of progressed, I could see that wanting to see me become a mom was so important and something she wanted. And so my prayer also in that moment was that she would live long enough to get to know him and he would be out of here to get all of the time that they needed together. But NICU is really interesting in some of the ways in which it rocks your world. When I got discharged from the hospital and we went to see him before I left the hospital, and I just kept thinking to myself, like, I don't think my legs can move to get in the car and leave him here. And I remember thinking, like, these people are strangers. They have no reason to care for him. They have no reason to make sure that he is okay. I'm not leaving him here. And for the first time in my life, I can tell you for absolute certainty, with all the certainty in the world, that I broke. And it's so hard to describe because to understand what it is I was physically no longer pregnant. And I knew that because I had a C-section to prove it. I was still healing myself to prove that I was no longer pregnant. I had a car seat in the car, but that car seat was empty. And I'm looking at my son laying there, barely 3 pounds, and being asked to leave him here and trust that they would be taking care of him. That's one of the hardest things that I have ever had to do. And I think that people who have gone through NICU parenting, they all talk about it and it affects all of us in different ways because I've met a lot of NICU parents since. But for me, this was one of the first moments that I would tell you with certainty that I broke because I came home to a house that was perfectly set up to receive a baby that I didn't have with me. And so mentally, yeah, it got very, very dark. And so as I reflect on like that journey from that to where I am today, And preparing for this episode, I had to really think about what's been different, like what's changed. The person I was before the arrival of my son, I had fear of failure. Perfectionism was at the center of everything I did, caring about opinions that I knew were not formulated with the intent to help me get better was also plaguing me because I was listening and allowing these opinions to kind of dictate what I would do and what I would venture out into instead of focusing on like my internal compass of being purpose driven, right? Let's not even talk about the imposter syndrome and how that was raging all through my professional career. But then after my son came home, I spent 5 months home, both for my own health, but also time to connect with him because I was getting to know him at home. I stopped caring a little bit more about what my decisions would be interpreted as. I stopped caring about how to say no and just know that saying no will have to do, but also making sure that no was delivered by itself with zero explanation. Here's what I mean. I would say, no, I can't do that right now, or no, it's just the fact that I have this going on and this going on. No always came with this explanation and justification, when in actuality, a no suffices. A no is a complete sentence, right? We hear that a lot now. No is a full sentence. It's a complete sentence. It's a complete thought. It needs no explanation, right? After becoming a mom, my comfort level with just saying no and drawing boundaries and enforcing those boundaries, it became so much better. And I think that that's because I'm making decisions now, not just for myself, but I'm recognizing that the decisions I made and the time I spend away from home, and even if I'm at home, the time I spent in the office working on things, this is all time I'm taking away from being with him. And after 71 days apart, no, that is not something that I am comfortable sacrificing. And so this boldness emerged out of really and truly just my desire to want to spend every waking moment with my son and not missing a beat and missing anything about his growth and development. That's where my boldness came from. And I could feel the difference. Like sometimes change happens in us and we are unaware that it's happening and what's going on. And people have to bring it to our attention like, hey, you've been kind of moving differently lately. That's not what this was. I could feel the shift in my energy and the way I listen to people, the people that I give the time of day to. I could feel that shift. And I could feel that like letting go of certain things and separating myself from certain things that would have otherwise been devastating, or I would have stayed in certain arrangements and certain situations longer than I needed to because I was afraid of how it would look and how it would be interpreted. And all of that was gone because the hardest decision now that I have to make is really just, does this align with the overall mission and purpose of what I am trying to do? What am I trying to do? I'm working on creating a future for me and my son that I can be proud of, but that also is going to make the journey a lot less difficult and traumatic for him. And so making decisions about what I will and will not do became super easy after that realization. The arrival of my son not just made me bolder, it made me more intentional. It made me sit more comfortably in my space as a visionary, as a creator. It's just made me become a lot more confident about the person that I am, what I can offer, and the things that I will and will not give the time of day to. And for that, everything that I have gone through to become a mom, I will do it again in a heartbeat because it has allowed me to kind of transform and become this version of myself that no amount of coaching would have delivered, no amount of therapy would have delivered. I think this is just something that for me, life had to teach me, and becoming a mom had to show me. And so I have 3 things and 3 lessons that motherhood has delivered and given to me. It's not for everyone. I say that with so much confidence. It is not for everybody. But for me, it's something I was afraid of dreaming about for a very long time because I wasn't sure that I would be able to become a mom. But once I found myself in the reality that I would be becoming a mother, I was anxious, right? There's a lot of anxiety about whether or not I'm doing the absolute best, right? So making sure that I was eating healthy and giving my son a healthy start in my body, exercising, making sure that I respected appointments and advice and everything that was asked of me. These are all of the things that I went through to kind of get myself ready for becoming a mom. But my three stat doses for this episode are really just about the top three bold lessons that I've learned from motherhood. The first lesson that motherhood has taught me, or becoming a mom really showed me, clarity is power. The thing that tends to happen that I've been a person that always has taken the time and energy to isolate the why. Why am I doing this? Why am I interested in this? Why would this work out for me? Why would I chase the why in everything I do, right? But I have a clarity of purpose in a way now that I never had before. And I think it's because I'm dreaming for more than just me now. I'm dreaming for both me and my son, right? And seeing not now. I am so much more comfortable with saying to people, not right now. Now is not a good time for that for me. This is not a mutually beneficial arrangement. I would never have otherwise. I would have bent myself inside out and turned myself into a pretzel to find a way to make something work because I hated turning people down who identified me as a person that had something that I could add to whatever they were working on. But reality is, the concept of involving myself with things that are mutually beneficial, it's a real thing. And I need to sit more in that space and kind of deliver the things that I take on and the things that I don't take on more from that angle. So I stopped trying to prove myself. I stopped trying to feel like I need to fight against this imposter syndrome by doing more, 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 right? Doing more actually fans the flame of imposter syndrome, as I've learned. But this incessant need that I need to prove myself to others. Yeah, I'd have to say that that's been one of the great things I've discovered after becoming a mom. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in feeling like I need to prove myself and prove to anyone that I have things to offer, that I have the experiences, the grit, and the ambition and the tenacity to deliver on certain things. That era and that time, that's done. That's done. Boundaries. That's my stat dose number two. Boundaries are bold. They're not selfish. They're not selfish by any measure. But without boundaries, you're actually not sending any signal to other people about how you would like to be treated and what you expect in return for relationships. There are certain standards that I have about the way people engage with me, people speak with me, people partner with me in business and in practice. There are certain standards. And for me, the way that things are communicated, I don't care how pissed off you are, but I will always have time to teach you how to speak to me and the manner in which I expect to collaborate. And that is a newfound boldness. I don't know that I've had that all along. I think that what I've had all along is just being like, okay, I don't like the way you speak to me. I'm going to distance myself. But this idea that I don't like the way you speak to me and I'm going to take the time and energy to redirect you on how to engage with me. Nah, I think that's something that definitely came after I became a mom. And there's nothing selfish about it. There's nothing selfish about it. It's just that I have a very low threshold now for the things that I will accept and let slide. And that has been applied across the board, whether it's family, whether it's work, whether it's in business. The moment I feel like certain boundaries are being crossed and or the way I'm being communicated to is not the way I want to be spoken to, or I don't want communication directed to me that way. I know that I have the freedom to happily withdraw from that situation. But I no longer just find a diplomatic way around that. I'm very explicit and straight to the point with the fact that it is all about the way you engaged and spoke to me and or the way you carry yourself. I have no interest in being associated anymore. That's definitely a gift that I had got after motherhood. My stat dose number three is really about boldness. I think a lot of people think that being bold is this major performative thing. Boldness isn't loud, it is consistent. It is about what you decide and how you decide to show up and plant yourself where you shall not be moved, no matter what. That's what boldness is. And I think that I've had a certain level of that all along. But becoming a mom, that boldness just started coming in a very unapologetic way. Because even what I'm doing right now, I'm out here with a podcast by myself on my own doing it with zero external support and zero external entities behind it. That is a version of boldness that I would have never otherwise had. Right? That is a version of me that I only know after I became a mother. I have to credit this transformation that happened for me for that courage. But to me, what I've learned about this new version of my understanding of boldness and how it's surfacing for me, it's that it's consistency. It's the consistency with which I operate and the consistency with which I hold others accountable and the consistency with which I move. And so to me, it means absolutely nothing that I have to let go of certain things because there's a misalignment. I'm good with that. Seasons don't match up. I'm in my season and era right now of just strategic alignment and mutually beneficial alignments. You may be in a different season where you're so big that you've transcended all those things. But if I'm right and you're here listening to this podcast, and you are in that in-between season, you are trying to figure it out, I want you to know that number one, time is a real thing. We want to rush our healing. We want to rush our transformation. We want the light bulb and the aha moments to all happen like now, now, now. And I think for me, like what I'm learning is that time is a powerful thing because we don't have an infinite amount of it, but it is also incredibly effective at giving us perspective and teaching us that sometimes it doesn't even take anything on your part. It's just a little bit of patience on your part, and you find yourself that clarity that you need is there. It's always been there. It's thinly veiled behind, again, perfectionism, imposter syndrome, fear of failure. But the idea that you didn't have what was necessary to be or do anything, it's a fallacy. And it's a story we tell ourselves because others around us are not fanning our flames and others around us don't see us for the powerhouses that we are. And what I'm striving for is just helping you understand that you do have these seasons, and some of the seasons they are transitional, right? And your job is to be bold in the way that you show up and that you show up consistently. It is your only insurance policy in making sure that the things that you are pursuing, the dreams that you have, and the ambitions that you have, that they hold space. Because other people are never going to treat your dreams with the same level of respect that you do. They don't get it. You can explain it to them till you turn blue in the face. They don't get it because unless you're able to transport people in your head for them to really see what you see and understand what you have in your mind as your vision, you're stuck in a constant state of learning. How do I talk to people about where I am right now, what I'm doing, and how we can collaborate or how they can support me in that endeavor? It's a pitch you're constantly rehearsing in your mind. But what I want you to know is that time's ability to help you refine that and time's ability to help you learn more about yourself and what you have to offer, that cannot be overstated. So yes, you don't have time. It's a thing. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. It's true. You shouldn't have time for everything. That's what your boundaries are for. And having clear boundaries and enforcing them, that's what those are for. But I can tell you with certainty that time and the events that happen in our lives, they have a way of helping us find courage in a new way, be emboldened in a new way, be empowered to effectuate our full potentials in ways that just could not have happened without some type of interruption in the journey or some type of transformation in the journey, right? So staying clear about the fact that time is a tool too, that we don't really understand and give time for things to heal. So if you're in the thick of it right now, I want to give you some words of encouragement. Your days may feel heavy, your goals, they feel delayed, your confidence sometimes feels shaken. This is a season for building. You are in a season of building right now. And I don't want you to miss the opportunity because you feel like you're doing a lot of things without any results. The results are coming, the results are on their way. But the only way you get to reap the benefits of this season is if you continue to show up boldly in a consistent manner. Because I'm telling you, the version of you that is going to emerge in the next season is going to thank you. Whether your transformation is secondary to becoming a mom, your transition is a job transformation, I want you to take from this episode that the fact that transformation and transitions, they are always happening for us. There are always things that we are going to face in our careers. And for me, in recent years, motherhood has been that thing that just gave me a lot of courage. It made me really, really bold. And I think in part it's because I'm dreaming for two and not just for myself. And that is all I had for you on today's episode. If anything you heard on today's episode spoke to you, or there's someone you think could benefit from hearing what we talked about and what I discussed on today's episode, please do not hesitate to share, like, and subscribe. This podcast does not grow without your encouragement, and I'm receiving them, your inboxes, all of the DMs and emails. I'm receiving them, and I'm so appreciative of them. Please continue to like and share and watch this and share it with anyone you think could benefit from hearing this episode. As always, we are on social media on Instagram as well as YouTube at Success and Doses Pod. You can find me on Instagram as well as TikTok with Resi Prep and also on LinkedIn. Please visit our website at www.successanddoses.com so that you can join our circle of success, where we will be bringing you dynamic speakers, more fireside chat, and talking about some of these topics in a more targeted way so that we are all benefiting and learning how to show up boldly, consistently each and every day. As always, success isn't about the destination, it's about the journey. Please continue to take intentional steps every day, one step at a time. Until next time, everybody, have a wonderful week. Okay, bye.